now, once again, Raymond Arroyo.
This is our Storyented segment where once a month we make a little time for literacy and fun. So on with the show. There's so much to say. My next guest has traveled to be here today. She joins us to talk about findings in boxes, about a doctor named Seuss and his wonderful goxes. She worked on 6 books with this doctor named Seuss. She's called Cathy Goldsmith. Now, let's set her loose. Welcome to the show, Cathy.
Thank you so much.
Great to see you.
Lovely introduction.
Well, I try my best. Now, Cathy is the president of Beginner Books and Dr. Seuss's longtime collaborator, and we're delighted to have you here. I want to start with how you first met Ted Geisel, his real name. How did you all first encounter each other, and what did you think of him when you met him?
Well, I was 28 years old at the time. I think he was in his early 70s. I was a senior designer at Random House, which is where I still am today, so I've been there quite a long time. And he came in with a book, as he often did. The office would get a call, and he would say, I'm coming to New York. And if you got that call, that meant there was a new book coming with him.
Wow. And what did you think? I mean, this is like, at that point, he had already established himself. Since the 50s, he'd been printing with Random House. He really founded this whole area of children's books. I mean, he popularized them in a way that nothing before had, right?
This is true. We often refer to Random House as the house that Seuss built, so,
right.
Or certainly the children's part of it anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so he was clearly the most famous person I'd ever met then, and remains that way today for me.
And what was he like one-on-one? He was something of an introvert.
Yes, he was, and he was rather formal when you first met him. My biggest issue when I first met him was I had no idea what to call him.
Oh, boy.
Because in the 70s, you didn't refer to somebody like that by their first name. You would call them Mr. But nobody called him Mr. Geisel, and nobody in the office called him Dr. Seuss, and so I just did not have any idea what to call him. Thankfully, he invited me to call him Ted and solved my problem.
And it stuck.
And it stuck.
Talk a little bit about the trajectory of this amazing career that Dr. Seuss had from, and to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street, to the book you worked with him on, Oh, the Places We'll Go, which was his final book. Tell me about that journey. Did he sort of complete the circle with those 2 books?
I think he did. He clearly intended Oh, the Places You'll Go to be a farewell. It grew out of a graduation speech he had given once years ago, and he elaborated more on the idea for the book. But I think, yes, I think he knew that it was the last thing he was liable to publish while he was alive.
And you really helped him complete that last book. He was very ill. He had set up, according to all the reports I read, he set up a bed in his studio, and...
Not really.
No?
Not really in the studio.
But nearby.
He was ill. And normally, as I said, he would come to New York with the book, and I think he was worried he wasn't going to finish this book. And so he actually called Jerry Harrison, who was then the head of the children's group, and said, can Cathy come to California? And it was like, of course, if you need Cathy, she'll come to California. Yeah. So I went out to help him finish specking the colors for the book, because he had written the book and all the black line drawings were finished. And he was about, I'd say, 60%, maybe a little bit more, finished with the color on it.
And the color and the layout was very important to him.
Always important. Well, first of all, color is, I learned everything I know about color from him practically. Because his color is like nobody else's. Yeah. He uses colors together nobody would ever dream of, and he's not afraid of a lot of color, but he's also not afraid of white space on the page either.
Right.
Today we tend to fill every bit of space. We don't waste anything, but he knew when to leave your eye some place to rest.
Right. No, and it's beautiful. And the layout, it made me go back and look at the layout, and your eyes are drawn to the text as you move, and then to the adjacent pictures. And I imagine he spent a lot of time designing.
He spent a lot of time on it. And I actually learned about eye movement from him. And I realized that it's actually a science that they teach when you, for example, work at a newspaper. You always read the headline is always at the top.
Left and
the
right,
most important story is at the right, because you read over to here, and then you read here, and then you read. And he knew all those things, and I never knew about them till I worked with him. So,
tell me, what did you think when you got a call not too long ago from his widow, Audrey, that she had discovered a manuscript? You thought what?
Well, she didn't actually say a manuscript when she called. what I learned was that she had discovered a box that she thought Random House would be interested in.
Oh, so you didn't know what was in it?
Well, I mean, we assumed that it had a manuscript. You know, we didn't think it had dishes in it, you know.
Well,
so.
you never know. Money.
One never knows.
Yeah.
So I literally went running down the hall to my boss's office, our publisher, and said, "We're going to California. They found a box." And literally, like 3 business days later, I think we were on the plane to California.
Huh. And what it was there? You had a manuscript, black and white drawings, completed, with the text, and we'll put a picture up. The text was sort of taped in.
Well, that's the way Dr. Seuss Ted worked. He would actually type up the type on a typewriter in those days, and he would cut it out, and he would tape it right on the page where he wanted it to be. So if he wanted it up, it would be up. If he wanted it down, it would be down. And as he would work on it, he would tape revisions one on top of each other. So.
And how did you determine, A, the pedigree and age of this work, and B, what did you have to do to put it together? Was it a complete manuscript, or were there missing elements?
Well, when we first saw it, we thought it was complete, but we didn't see it. We didn't have very much time with it the first day we saw it. The materials were already slated to move from Audrey Geisel's house into the Dr. Seuss archives at the University of California, San Diego. So the truck was literally in the driveway the day we were there. So we saw it briefly. We thought it was probably a full book, but we didn't absolutely know until a little bit later on when we got our hands back on it again. For me, I knew what it was as soon as I saw it. I mean, first of all, I would not assume somebody broke into Dr. Seuss's house and put fake Dr. Seuss there. But it was so clear to me that it was not only his work, but when it was from. I mean, I knew as soon as I saw the 2 children in the book that it was from the time period of One Fish, Two Fish. It's the only time he drew children that looked like that. And in point of fact, they are exactly the same children.
They're the same children.
They're the same children.
And he didn't like to draw children.
No, he did not.
Why?
He didn't think he did it very well. And I love those children. I think they're absolutely perfect. So.
Yeah, and they do. It's kind of like revisiting old friends. When I looked at it, I said, "Oh my gosh, I know these kids."
And that's just what I said. I said, "Oh my gosh, I knew exactly who they were."
What's your favorite book and why? You know, on Storyented, we always, our motto is, find your story, find your way. And we talk about the lessons you draw from these works. What's your favorite? What lesson did you derive from it?
Okay, I have 2 favorites, actually. Okay. I would say Oh, the Places You'll Go, because it was the one that I worked most closely with Dr. Seuss on. So it has a very special place in my heart for that reason. Yeah. But I also love Happy Birthday to You. Oh, and I love it because of the message in it. There's a line that says, "There is no one alive who is youer than you." I love that. Yeah. What a wonderful thing for children to learn, that they are unique, that they are special simply because who they are, that nobody is the same person that they are. Yeah. I love that message.
It reminds me of the Horton Hears a Who. You know, a person is a person, no matter how small. Precious. We had some emails that we've been getting since I announced that you were on the show. A child wrote in, Tim from Clearwater. He's 8. So his mother must have typed. Why did he call himself Dr. Seuss when his name was Theodor Geisel?
Well, Seuss is his middle name, actually. It was his mother's maiden name, okay? So he is Theodor Seuss Geisel. And the doctor was something he picked up when he was in college, and he was doing cartoons for the college newspaper. He just did it as a lark.
Someone else, Nancy from Philadelphia, asks, why did Dr. Seuss draw so many weird, fantastic creatures, and what were his inspirations? You must know.
Well, I think he always has loved to doodle. There are notebooks of his doodles from the time he was young in the archives at UCSD. So I think that was something he's always done. And I think that's just the way he saw the universe and how he documented it.
He did a lot of political cartoons and things before children's books.
Absolutely. During the war, yes. Also during the war, he was actually, in the Army, he was part of the film crew that was headed by Frank Capra.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, he did. And they made movies for the Army about how to avoid certain situations you would get yourself into and how to be safe while you were a soldier, etc.
Well, Cathy, why did he write in rhymes, in those little couplets? Why?
I think he knew instinctively that children can listen and remember those. We call them riffs very often in the office, and we like them because kids remember them, and then they pick up the book and they say, listen, Mom, I can read it. And they're really not reading it. They remember it, but we don't mind because what it says is that they love the book and that they think that reading is easy. So I think he thought of it as a way to get a foot in the door to a child who maybe didn't read yet and was looking to read.
What would be your advice to parents to help their children read, to inspire that lifelong love of learning and reading that I think we're all hoping for?
We all hope that parents will start their children with books early and that they'll share them with them, because I think any child who sees a parent loving a book is going to love a book themselves. I still loved, having a kid sit on your lap and read a book. Yeah. To this day, I love when I go on a bus or on an airplane and I see somebody else's kid with their head in one of our books. I love that.
Why do you think these books have such an emotional hold on us?
Oh, because we remember them from our own childhood.
Yeah, but there's something about them, though. The first time you see them, I don't know if it's the vibrancy, I don't know if it's the characters, maybe it's the rhyme, but there's something, it transports all of us maybe because
I think they're unique. First of all, I think they're non-threatening. They have a sense of humor. They don't take themselves too seriously, and they don't talk down to children.
Good point. They don't, and you don't either. Cathy
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
much
for
pleasure.
being here, for all you do. Such beautiful work. What Pet Should I Get? Dr. Seuss's most recent book is available everywhere, and it's back on the bestseller list. It's really a fun read. My daughter keeps asking, what pet did they get? What pet did they get? Read it and find out.